We're back at RSAC Conference 2025, broadcasting live from the CyberRisk TV booth at Broadcast Alley in Moscone West. We're on the final lap here, getting ready to shut this whole thing down. The foot traffic is slowing down. People are starting to head to the airport. People are staggering along that walk of shame from having gone to one too many parties last night. But we're gonna get through this.
We are.
I am the co-host of Paul Security Weekly, Jeff Mann, and I'm here today, this session, to talk to Matthew Warner, who's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Blumira.
I am.
Matt, welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
How are you holding up from this week?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Pacing yourself well?
Well, I wouldn't say pacing myself. I've been recovering since Monday still, but here I am. I'm doing well.
You're one of those, oops, I did a little bit too much on the first night?
Yeah.
I learned that lesson a few years ago.
I never learned my lesson, apparently.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into cyber.
Sure, yeah. So I've been in IT and cyber for about 20 years, primarily in either, MSPs or doing my own startups. Blumira actually came from me working through an MSP, building out their SOC services, and just being sick of trying to make Elasticsearch work for us.
Gotcha.
It was just too much work for an MSP to really drive forward. Everyone was getting up at night having to fix stuff, and it just really wasn't worth it to the MSP.
Right.
And I was one of those crazy people that said, you know what we could do? Rebuild everything. And that's what we did.
We can make it better.
We can
stronger,
make it better. Exactly.
Faster.
Yes. So that's what we did. We spun out of that MSP, started Blumira about 7 years ago.
Right.
And for me, I've been a SOC operator running MSPs in IT for a long time. And if I know anything, it's that you got to build stuff so people can still sleep at night.
Right.
And got to reduce that paging on call. Like, that is my goal. It always has been my goal. And when we started Blumira, our motto was, we don't want to wake up at night. And that is our motto that's continued through to all of our customers as well. So we are here really to help.
So this is not just a random
piece of
swag. There's a subliminal message.
Yes. Everyone should sleep more, especially at RSA. Not that I took my own guidance here, but I'm just saying, it's important.
But it was a choice.
It was a choice, exactly.
That's an important distinction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So you started Blumira. You think you can make it better, stronger, faster?
Yes.
And other than doing that, why did you do that? Who are you trying to reach?
Sure, yeah. So, 2018, this was before the crazy boom in some regard for where things went during COVID and security.
Right.
And as we've continued to move through, I think a lot of us see that, thinking back 5, 10, 20 years ago, the SMB, mid-market, and MSPs and MSSPs have always been left behind by security technology.
Right.
Realistically, almost no one makes technology for them, or they make it for a weird segment within that, and it really isn't supporting them in their growth.
Right.
The way we really like to look at this, and we have since the beginning, is that an organization that grows their security maturity, an MSP that can grow their security maturity and grow the maturity of their customers, will be more secure over time, will be better as an organization, and will just operationally be better.
Right.
It's something that it's really easy to miss in security, that if you are doing security well as an MSP, as an organization, you will be healthier because you're following those processes. You're putting in that work. You know what's happening in your organization. So we've built Blumira really to focus into how can we help people get better? How can we help the people that work at that MSP really be able to deliver the service that's best for them and their customers?
Right.
And how do we make sure that everyone is secure? We see that everywhere on the floor AI this year.
Right.
We are, of course, like everyone, is working on AI. But really the way that we look at that is, you can't remove the tier 1 of security. You have to provide AI that makes people better and really aligns to what the human needs. We cannot kill the tier 1 and the entry level of cybersecurity. What will we do in 5 years, 10 years? Who is going to take those jobs?
Right.
AI does not make security. The people who build it do.
Right. Well, and for all the hype of AI, and I've had several discussions of really passionate, geeky people that are into it, that are like, this is game changing. This is not quite the Black Obelisk 2001 moment, but, more along the invention of the steam engine type of moment.
Sure.
Where, we're shifting to a new age. And I get that, but it's still a tool.
Yep.
And it's still got to be used
by people.
Wielded well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all we need to say about AI.
Yes.
So let's talk about how there's this neglected, underserved segment of society, which is the small, medium-sized business, which,
Yeah.
I've been a PCI QSA for 20 years, and in theory, I only work with the big guys, the big merchants and retailers and service providers, but that's like 1% of the
Right.
companies out there. And, most of what's going on over here at the chaos that's the expo floor
Yes.
is everybody's going after the enterprise. Everybody's the whale hunting.
Yep.
And what's left for the little guy? And it necessarily has to be organizations that can pull together the expertise and lend themselves
Right.
to the many.
Yep.
So I sincerely appreciate that you have a vision for that and do that, and
We appreciate that.
can't help but try to promote it as much as possible. I mentioned PCI. I imagine you stumble upon that every once in a while.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the new requirements and in its own way, kind of game-changing way that they've actually updated finally version 4, a lot of the language and a lot of the requirements, because people couldn't read it and translate it to modern technology.
Right.
They actually had to put the words in.
Yep.
But clearly has a big impact on MSPs that are trying to, they're the ones that are receiving all the outsourced from the merchants. Oh,
Right.
we've got a third party that does it. Out of curiosity, are you guys PCI compliant yourselves?
We actually were PCI compliant for a number of years. We moved away from PCI compliance about a year and a half ago to focus more on SOC 2.
Okay.
That's something we could pick back up. We don't see internally, we don't try to hold any card data, as you can imagine. We don't want to
Sure.
be a service provider
Right.
when it comes to that. But when it comes down to how we provide PCI support and how we align to PCI, it's really the big changes we've seen with 4 have really been an expansion in the logs that people are required to collect and view.
Right.
I know a big change for a lot of our customers was that they had to start collecting their door logs, and they had to start collecting how people are actually accessing
Yep.
the scoped areas. A lot of our customers never thought about that before.
Right.
And really more importantly, a lot of that technology is from the early 90s,
Yep.
if not later than that.
Right.
So it really became this interesting challenge of how do we support SMBs and the technology they invested in 10, 20 years ago, and actually make it something that meets the compliance standards of PCI, pull that data into Blumira, and really give them the visibility they need.
Right.
And a lot of what we hear across the SMB, to your point, is that they really aren't able to get the visibility they need across the tool sets that are available to them.
Right.
It's really easy in the SMB to assume that the SMB needs a black box and just needs to do it for them.
Right.
But in my experience, what people need is something that they can really sink their teeth into.
Right.
It shouldn't be hard. It should make their lives easier, but it does need to expose that ability for them to meet PCI through reports already being available to them, making sure they're getting the log data they need, making sure they're getting the visibility and alerts they need to really ensure that when they go into that SAC, they are answering the questions the right way and they're seeing the visibility they need.
It needs to check the box, but
Right.
I mean, I've always tried to push my clients towards, don't just check the box.
do more.
Actually embrace it and understand the
Right.
context of why this is important and why it matters and why it should matter to you. I'm sorry for doing the shameless sales pitch on air, but I am a QSA
Yeah.
and work for a QSA company, and you guys fall into this kind of weird
We do.
in between category. But anybody that's a security provider and an MSSP, you're not touching the card data, but you're adjacent.
They
And
are. They have
PCI
access.
has this or could impact the
Yep.
security of card data, which I have a lot of customers that sort of fit into that nebulous category, and some fully embrace, we definitely fit squarely into that, so we're
Yep.
going to be PCI compliant, so that if for no other reason, they can answer the question when they're trying to sell their services.
Sure.
Of course we're PCI compliant, so we'll talk later.
Oh yeah.
But but even in version 4, there's been logging requirements from the very beginning,
Oh, yeah.
centralized logging,
Yep.
daily log review. Now
Those are my favorite.
Now it's required to be automated.
Correct.
And
yeah. Oh no.
I
She
made an
fell over.
emphatic point. I'm sorry.
You were too excited. Here we go.
All right,
I
you
got
hold it while
we
I'm
got
talking.
it. All right, I'll hold it. There we go.
We'll
Perfect.
take turns.
Love it. Here we go. We'll hold it together.
But that's got to help you guys. But,
Oh, yeah.
but in that context, what do you do to help? You're providing the services for your clients. Do you try to help provide context, and we're giving you information. This is what you do with it. This is what you should care about, type of thing.
Yeah, so that's really the biggest thing with SMB. You have to provide context. Will it stay? Will it stay? We're good.
All right, don't touch the
We
table.
got it. So for us and for SMB, you have to provide that context. It doesn't
Right.
matter if it's a detection, it doesn't matter if it's a piece of data, you have to provide context because realistically, most people in SMB are IT focused, not security focused, and they're getting pulled into that compliance work in a situation where they are not experts on compliance.
Right.
Very few people are QSAs.
Yep.
And it's important for...
And even fewer good QSAs.
Yes,
Did I say that out
that
loud?
is very accurate. Very, very accurate, yes.
Right.
So it's important to provide that context for them so they know, and when they go into that process, and we provide as much support as we can. We have our own security operations center and support center that provides them that kind of like, if you want to talk about your compliance, let's talk about it.
Right.
Like, let's make sure you get what you need. If it's PCI, if it's SOC 2, if it's CMMC, if it's ISO, like, you're going to have complexities. Let us help you solve those for you.
Right.
That's really how, as Blumira, we don't provide services. We don't believe that services are how it should work. Instead, it's just something that's part of the product. If
Right.
you need help, you just reach out. We're going to help you.
Right. Yeah, fair. Or, I mean, do you have partners that you can refer
Yeah.
people to when they do
And that's
need
what
to
the
talk
MSPs
to
are
somebody?
for. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we want MSPs to grow. We want MSPs to thrive. And the way to do that is for us not to be a competitor to the MSPs, but rather enable them to drive their services.
Right. And with the focus being on, we actually want to help.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and we want you guys to be secure.
Yeah.
It's always, I've always chuckled, especially in this environment, when I bring up PCI, people chuckle and say, oh yeah, every merchant that's ever been breached, they claim to be PCI compliant. And I'm like, yeah, and there's this whole major requirement in PCI, which you squarely play in, which is collecting all the logs, collecting all the evidence, doing the
Yep.
detection and response, because even PCI assumes there's going to be a breach and a compromise,
Of course,
so be
yeah.
prepared for it.
Yeah.
So you can be breached and be compliant. Magical.
Yes, I mean, hopefully one day the world will realize that compliance never aligns to you won't be breached. There is no situation where you are secure enough to never be breached. It is just not how it would be great if it worked that way. I don't care how great AI gets, it'll never be that way. It's just,
I've been triggered lately by the compliance does not equal security idiom, and to which I always respond, security does not equal security.
No, it doesn't.
That usually shuts them up. But also compliance, and I would ask your opinion on this, but I think compliance in many cases is security, because that's all a lot of organizations going to do,
Yes.
especially the small ones.
Yes.
So I think there needs to be an attitude adjustment for those that care to understand that compliance is sort of the boundaries that you're working in. That's what those are the cards you've been dealt with.
Yeah, very much so.
And let's make it work within that context.
I think you're also seeing that delineation between enterprise and everyone else, right? At enterprise, it may just be a bother because you're going to have your governance team. They're going to be telling your security team to do stuff, your IT team to do stuff.
Right.
In the SMB world and MSP world, you do not have a governance team in a lot of cases. You have your security and IT team that are going to be applying those controls, and you're exactly right. Those are going to be the controls you're following.
Right.
And it's important to live those controls and really make sure that that is aligning to where you are, because compliance drives the security operations, that drives the security, and all of those have to be aligned in a way that makes you moderately healthy as a company, and you will just as likely to be breached as someone who is not.
Right.
But you will identify it, you will stop it sooner, it won't be as bad, and that's the intention of a lot of these
That's
frameworks.
the key. I remember back when the Target breach happened, and shortly after the Home Depot, there was a spate of
There was
big breaches back then. And I remember reading one headline. I don't even remember who the merchant was, but the headline was they were breached, and they detected it within like hours or days. Oh, and this was this company, they've been breached. I'm like, that's a success story. The fact that they were able to detect it and minimize the damage,
100%.
that's really realistically the goal here.
It is. It is the goal.
Our time's winding down. If I can shift gears, one of my good friends works for you, Amanda Berlin.
Yes, she's amazing.
Shout out to Amanda.
Yay, Amanda.
And one of the things I also appreciate appreciate about Blumira is the fact you have somebody like Amanda working for you and you promote what she does. Take a few seconds to tell us about what her focus is on her little side project.
Sure, yeah. So Amanda runs a group called Mental Health Hackers, a nonprofit. They focus entirely on mental health for people in the cybersecurity industry,
Especially SOC analysts.
especially SOC analysts.
Yeah.
Amanda I hired her as a SOC analyst at the MSP, where we realized, like, this is hell, we should do something else.
Right.
So I worked with Amanda for many years, and her focus has always been, how do we make sure that people are happy in their roles in security?
Right.
Security is so hard to stay content in a long time, especially as a SOC analyst. The impact from the standpoint of time, having to stay up, having to evaluate. Then if you get breached, just the mental impact of having to recover from a breach is significant.
Right.
So her mental health hackers program has done a spectacular job kind of growing that need. I know she got a big room at DEF CON this year, so she'll be there this year.
Yep.
Please, everyone, check out Mental Health Hackers, donate. I know she needs some donations. So if you're looking for a good nonprofit to donate to, Mental Health Hackers is out here to support the SOC, to support the security people, and Amanda Berlin's one of the best people you'll ever meet, so that it helps her too.
So I appreciate how you back up not only the commitment to the small and underserved organizations out there, but the people that have to support the small and underserved organizations.
We got to all still be here.
Yeah.
We got to make it through. If we all burn out, there's no one left. It's important for us to do that.
And we have to pace ourselves.
We should. Well, yeah, we should.
What would Amanda say? Well, that's going to wrap us for this time. Appreciate the time talking
I appreciate
to you
that as
today.
well.
If you guys want to learn more about Blumira, go to securityweekly.com/Blumira, which is BLUMIRA.
That's us. There you go.
RSAC.
There you go.
And we're winding down, but if you want to learn about our whole program here, that's securityweekly.com/RSAC. Thanks again, Matt, for talking
Thank
to
you.
us today.
It's great.
We'll be back shortly.